My fiancé called me replaceable during sex. I replaced him with a $105 million deal, and he lost everything. In the middle of intimacy, he gripped my waist, leaned close, and laughed. "Don't get too attached. You're replaceable." I froze. My heart thudded. I felt the blood leave my face. He rolled away and reached for his phone like the joke was over. I lay still, the bed sheets warm and heavy, listening to his breath change. He tapped the screen, thumb quick. Then I heard a name, soft and bright, whispered into the phone. "You free tomorrow, babe?" It felt like a cold hand on my back. I had built my life around small promises and private jokes, the kind that stitched two people into a safe thing. That laugh tore the stitches. I watched his profile in the lamplight and saw nothing I recognized. The word replaceable sat on my rib cage like a stone. I wanted to scream. Instead, I counted my breaths until he fell asleep and kept my hands to myself, learning the shape of my own silence. Hit subscribe for more true revenge stories. I lay motionless, staring at the cracked paint on the ceiling and feeling the word replaceable like a bruise. He hummed in the shower, the sound a small, private song that once meant home. Water tapped glass. I watched steam rise by the bathroom door and thought about how small habits hide big lies. My hands curled into the sheet until my nails hurt. In the hall, his phone lit up against the towel on the chair. I could see the glow even with the bathroom light on. A message preview blinked across the screen. "Can't wait for another round." My stomach dropped. I felt like an actor who had waited for applause only to hear a whisper about the next replacement. My brain sorted memories like paper, looking for a corner to fold. I remembered late nights planning marketing campaigns for his firm, my slides that turned investors soft, the nights I proofread his speeches. I understood then how easily people forget who built things. I wanted to move. My body stayed still. I listened to the water stop. I walked to the mirror where my face looked like a stranger's. Mascara streaked down my cheeks like bad paint. I whispered to the glass, "Replaceable? Watch me." My voice sounded small but steady. I took off the damp pillowcase and wrapped my hair up, planning as if making coffee. Anger warmed me like a slow sun. I thought of the nights I had fixed his slides, smoothed his anger, smiled when investors asked about my ideas as if they were his. The corner of the bathroom drawer held a box of hair ties, Band-Aids, and an old business card I'd once shoved there and forgotten. The card had been bent, its edges soft from being carried in a wallet for years. I pulled it out and read the faded name, my old mentor. I had left that office to make a life with him, promising myself I would not need help again. I held the card and felt something lift. The plan was small at first, like a seed. Then the seed felt like thunder. He was a venture capitalist who ate startups for breakfast and left broken teams behind. People called him a king. His firm was worth $105 million, his smile a currency. I had helped build half of that kingdom. I had written copy that bent investors, strategized brand lifts, and stayed late when his office lights burned like stars. He liked to say I was talented but not necessary. I remembered that. I also remembered paper. Once, long ago, I had signed an early contract with him, before rings and shared plates, when my name was on the documents for ideas and pitches. I had left my signature because I trusted the team and wanted the work to live. I had not imagined the signature would later be framed like a trophy he could hold and say, "See, I made this." That memory cracked something open inside me. The contract could be a key. I held the thought like a match and began to plan in small, careful steps. I reopened the business email I had closed when life moved to married dinners and weekend trips. The login felt like a dusty door. I typed my old password, held my breath, and found drafts and sent messages from another life. There were proposals with my notes, slide decks where I had suggested exact headlines, and emails from investors who had once written things like, "We like her approach." I began to tidy files and send polite replies under a new name I used for work. One message went out to a small angel who had backed my early campaigns. I kept it short and careful, saying I was available for consulting and that I had ideas worth seeing. My finger hovered over send, and then I sent. The reply came fast, like a hand reaching through time. "We've missed your spark," it said. "Still thinking about rejoining the field?" My chest stuttered. The word spark felt like a lifeline. I realized I had a bridge back. I also realized the clock on his merger was ticking. At dinner, he talked like he was on a stage. "I'm closing a huge deal," he said, waving his fork. "The CEO is sharp. She reminds me of you, but better." He laughed, but the sound felt pointed, like a knife pressed lightly to my skin. I smiled because I'd learned not to show hurt where he could enjoy it. He kept talking about her, how smart she was, how bold, how she actually understood real business. I chewed slowly, wondering how long I had sat beside a man who thought my work was a side dish. He lifted his wine. "You should meet her. Maybe she could teach you something." The words hit like cold water. When he left for a call, his napkin tossed carelessly, I checked my phone. I typed her name into a search bar, expecting a stranger. But when the photo loaded, my heart jumped. I knew that face. That CEO, the one he praised, was my old mentor. The woman whose card I had pulled from my drawer that morning. He didn't know I already had a connection she trusted. When we got home, he went straight to his office, already bragging loudly on another call. I slipped into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and opened my laptop. My hands shook, but not from fear. From purpose. I typed a message to my mentor, keeping it short and calm. "I have information you will want. It concerns a dishonest partner tied to your upcoming deal." I stared at the screen before hitting send. I felt like I had stepped onto a path I could not leave. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Her reply was quick and sharp. "Come see me tomorrow. Let's talk opportunity." I read it twice. Opportunity. Not pity. Not comfort. Opportunity. Down the hall, he laughed at something a caller said, loud and full of himself, unaware the ground had already shifted under his feet. He thought he owned the room, the deal, and me. He didn't know a storm had already begun forming behind him. Tomorrow, I would tell her everything and she would decide how we strike. I met her in a quiet cafe, one she always liked because the cups were handmade. She greeted me with warm eyes, but I could see she studied me, noticing every small flicker in my face. When we sat, I told her everything, his cold jokes, the way he dismissed my work, the word replaceable, the mistress, the merger that would make him feel even more untouchable. Her hands stayed folded as she listened, but a slow, knowing smile grew. When I finished, she leaned back. "You built parts of his empire," she said. "And he forgot." I nodded because hearing it from her made it feel real. She tapped the table. "Let's take something he can't replace, his company." The air felt electric, like the moment before lightning touches ground. I didn't know if I should breathe or run. But I knew this. I wanted justice, not just revenge. She stood and touched my shoulder. "We do this clean. No cheating. Just truth and skill." She opened her laptop and showed me the merger he thought no one else could touch. We walked through every line of his upcoming $105 million merger. She knew the board. I knew his blind spots. Together, we formed a picture sharper than any he had drawn. "If we intercept the proposal," she said, "and build a cleaner plan, the board will choose the stronger vision." I nodded. It felt strange planning at this level while still sharing a bed with him at night. When I went home, he kissed my cheek and asked if I wanted to watch a show. I said yes, even though my mind was miles away. While he rested his hand on my leg, I built frameworks in my mind, cost tables, market edges, brand angles he had never understood. At night, when he rolled toward me and whispered things he thought sounded sweet, I stared at the dark ceiling and reminded myself why I was doing this. He had taken my heart and called it replaceable. Now I was taking something he thought untouchable. Tomorrow, we would begin drafting the rival proposal. Quiet, legal, devastating. By day, I played the role he liked. Soft, supportive, small. I brewed his coffee the way he preferred, laughed at his stories, and nodded when he explained deals I had already studied in full. He never saw the late nights when I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop glowing like a secret moon. I wrote slides, shaped numbers, and built a pitch that could cut marble. My mentor reviewed everything I sent, leaving short notes like sharper here and good hit point. One night, after we turned off the lights, he draped an arm across me and chuckled. "You know you'd never survive without me." He said it like it was cute, like it was fact. I didn't move. I just let the words settle next to the others he had thrown. In the dark, my eyes stayed open, wide and calm. I whispered in my mind, "You'll see." The next day, he would make a mistake, a big one. That night, he drank too much wine during a video call with some partners. When the call ended, he wandered into the bedroom, bragging loudly about the $105 million merger like he was the only mind behind it. Then he started talking too freely. He told me the names of the board members, the meeting dates, even the password he used for his shared folder. "Easy to remember," he slurred. "It's my ego on a plate." He laughed at his own joke, then dropped onto the bed. I sat beside him, nodding like a sweet partner, while my mind collected every detail. He didn't notice how quiet I became. He didn't notice that I asked small questions, and he answered all of them because drunk men love to hear themselves talk. When he finally fell asleep, I tucked the blanket over him and stared at his face. I felt nothing. The man who said I was replaceable had just handed me the keys. I memorized every detail that could break his deal wide open. The next morning, I woke before him. My hands trembled, but not from fear, only from readiness. I pulled out my old laptop, the one with my early work files. I tried my old company login, expecting it to be dead, but the screen blinked, hummed, and then opened. He had never removed my access. My digital fingerprints still lived in his system. I entered the internal drive, moving slowly, careful not to trigger alerts. I found the merger folder with bright tags and fancy labels. Every file he planned to use sat there, waiting. I downloaded everything: slides, notes, investor maps, and the weak points he hoped no one would catch. My heart pounded. I kept checking the bedroom doorway to make sure he was still asleep. When the last file saved, I closed the laptop and hid it under my clothes. I made coffee like nothing happened. He never looked up from his phone. I now had his entire merger plan, and he didn't even know he'd opened the door. Later that afternoon, I heard his phone buzz. He left it on the counter while he went to shower. A new email came in, and the preview flashed across the screen. It was from his assistant, but it wasn't meant for him, it was meant for me. She had typed my name by mistake. I froze and opened it. My breath stopped as I read. The email talked about scheduling private drinks again and keeping the investor happy. Attached below was a photo of him and the investor, his mistress, laughing at a bar. My stomach turned. But then I noticed something else. That investor was part of the rival bid tied to the merger. She wasn't just a mistress. She was a threat wrapped in perfume. I held the phone tightly as the shower kept running. Steam filled the hall like a warning. I realized his secret lover was connected to the same deal I planned to take from him. When he left for work, I sat at the dining table with my laptop and a new idea forming. I searched the mistress's number, found it in his contacts, and used a call masking app to hide my identity. I dialed her, keeping my voice calm. "This is a reporter," I said. "We've received information about a possible scandal involving you and a married investor. Would you like to comment?" She panicked fast. Her breath came out in short bursts. "Who told you? What do you have? Is it about the merger?" She kept talking, spilling every detail without knowing she fed me gold. Secret meetings, private promises, how she planned to use him for access. My hands shook as I wrote notes. She feared exposure more than truth. When I ended the call, I sat back and let out a slow breath. I now had every thread of her involvement. I suddenly had enough information to take down both of them with one move. With the files I downloaded and the notes I collected, I built a mirrored version of his pitch deck. Same frame, same style, but smarter, cleaner, stronger. I fixed every weak point he ignored. I added the market angles he didn't know how to read. My mentor reviewed each slide and nodded. "This beats his," she said. "Easily." My heartbeat quickened. She told me she had requested a meeting with the board, the same board he bragged about controlling. I worked all night polishing colors, models, and graphs until they shined. While he slept, I practiced my speech softly, my words steady in the dark. At sunrise, I closed my laptop and felt fire in my chest. Something new, something sharp, something mine. My mentor texted, "The board approved your presentation slot." That night we went to dinner at his favorite restaurant, the one with golden lights and tiny plates that never filled me. He bragged louder than usual, waving his fork like a flag. "Once this merger closes, I'll be untouchable," he said. "Everyone will want a piece of my success." I lifted my glass, hiding my smile. "To replaceable success," I said. He didn't even flinch. He didn't hear the echo of his own word. He only heard his voice in his head. He kept talking about flying first class, new offices, and how I should dress better for future events. I nodded and let him talk. My phone buzzed under the table. I slid it open and saw the message. "Your board presentation is locked. You're on the schedule." My heart thudded in my chest, not with fear, but with a feeling like bright heat. He ordered dessert. I watched him savor every bite. He thought this meal was a victory lap. Tomorrow, the board would see me before they ever saw him. That night, he fell asleep fast. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching the rise and fall of his chest. I felt almost outside myself, calm and sharp at the same time. I whispered, "You'll wake up replaced." Then I opened my laptop and sent the final email, an invitation to the press for a joint announcement at the board meeting. Reporters love surprise stories, and he loved attention enough to walk right into the trap. I checked every detail: time, address, access codes. Everything lined up like puzzle pieces clicking into place. When I closed my laptop, I looked at him again. This was the last night he would ever sleep beside me with power. I slid under the blanket but stayed awake until dawn, listening to the quiet house and my heart beating steady. Morning headlines would hit before he even opened his eyes. He woke up confused, squinting at his phone like it was lying to him. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. The headline flashed bright on the screen. "Mysterious female executive challenges $105 million merger." His face turned pale. He rushed into my room, gripping the doorframe. "Do you know who she is?" he yelled. I brushed my hair, slow and calm. "Yes," I said. "I do." His eyes widened. He searched my face, trying to read something he couldn't understand. He grabbed his jacket and stormed out, calling partners, shouting orders, trying to gather answers that didn't exist yet. I watched him from the window. Every step he took was heavy, uneven. He looked small for the first time. He didn't know I had already walked ahead of him. At the boardroom, he would see who stood in his seat. When he walked into the boardroom, he carried the confidence of a king. But then he saw me. I sat beside my mentor, my laptop open, my notes ready. His face drained, as if someone had pulled the color from it. The board members turned to me with polite interest. He looked between us, confused and angry. "What is she doing here?" he demanded. The chairman raised a hand. "She has a proposal to present," he said calmly. My mentor leaned back, studying him like a puzzle she had already solved. I could feel the room shift, the quiet hum of curiosity leaning my way. He tried to speak again, but the chairman cut him off. "Please sit. We will hear her first." He sat, stiff and furious, his jaw tight. I opened my presentation, my fingers steady on the keys. My first slide lit up, and the board leaned forward to listen. I stood, clicked to the first slide, and spoke with a voice I barely recognized, sure, warm, clear. I explained market gaps he had ignored, supply chains he misread, and risks he hid under shiny numbers. Investors nodded. Some even took notes. My mentor smiled like she already knew the ending. He tried to interrupt twice, but the chairman stopped him. "Let her continue," he said. And I did. I showed my version of the merger, stronger, more profitable, and clean of every shady link he'd planted. When I finished, the room was silent for a breath. Then the chairman spoke. "You've earned our trust," he said. My chest felt full, bright, steady. My mentor put a hand on my shoulder. Across the room, he stared at the table, shaking his head, not understanding how he'd lost control so fast. And then came the moment he tried to accuse me. He jumped to his feet, pointing straight at me. She stole my work, he shouted. His voice cracked under the weight of his panic. The board members looked confused, then turned to me. I stayed calm. I pulled a thin folder from my bag and placed it on the table. These documents, I said, show my name on the earliest concepts for this merger. The original market maps. The early pitch notes. The strategies you all praised years ago. I pushed a contract toward the chairman. My signature is on the source materials. He grabbed the papers, flipping fast, as if the truth might change by moving quickly. His hands shook. I leaned closer, my voice soft. Replaceable. I whispered. Looks like I was the source code. His jaw tightened. One board member looked at him with disappointment, another with disbelief. My mentor crossed her arms, proud and patient. The chairman closed the contract and called for an immediate vote. The vote felt like watching a house fall in slow motion. One by one, each board member raised a hand in my favor. No hesitation. No pause. 10 hands. 0 for him. He stared forward, stunned, like someone had removed the floor under his feet. The board accepts her proposal, the chairman said. Effective immediately. My mentor nodded to me. I breathed out slowly, steady and quiet. He stood, gripping the back of his chair. You can't do this, he said. But the chairman replied, we already did. Then something unexpected happened. One of the rival directors turned to me. We would like to offer you the CEO position of the merged entity, she said. I felt heat rise in my chest. Power. Recognition. A place he always said I could never reach. He sank back down, defeated. As we left the boardroom, I heard the sound of breaking glass behind us. After the meeting, he stormed into a nearby room. A loud crash echoed through the hall as a glass shattered against the wall. You'll regret this, he screamed. You have no idea what you're stepping into. But the guards, his guards, walked in, calm and firm. One spoke softly. Sir, you're no longer authorized in this space. The board has removed your access. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He looked smaller than I had ever seen him. He tried to push past them, but they blocked him with simple movements. I stood in the doorway, watching the downfall he had built with his own hands. He glared at me, hate mixed with fear. This isn't the end, he spit out. I met his eyes. It is, I said. Then I turned and left him standing in the ruins of his pride. When I reached home, something waited on the table, legal papers. I walked into the house, quiet and still. On the kitchen table lay a thick envelope with my name in bold letters. I opened it slowly. Inside were documents stamped with the court seal. His accounts were frozen. His assets were under investigation for misuse and false reporting tied to the mistress's firm. Suddenly, everything felt real and heavy. I sat down, breathing steady. I removed my wedding ring and placed it beside the envelope. It didn't sparkle. It looked like cheap metal. I thought about the moment he called me replaceable, the laugh that cut me open, the insult he tossed like trash. Now he was the one losing everything piece by piece. I closed the envelope, set my ring beside it, and stood. This is the beginning, I whispered. My mentor called. It's time. Come sign the contract. Her office smelled like fresh paper and strong ink. The long contract sat on the desk, pages spread neatly. She nodded for me to sit. You earned this, she said. My hand hovered over the pen. I thought of the nights I cried, the mornings I hid my hurt, the way he looked at his phone while I broke inside. Then I thought of the board's eyes when I spoke. I signed my name slowly, clean and sure. The deal transferred. I became the official owner of the $105 million merger he thought would crown him king. My mentor smiled. Welcome to your empire. Reporters outside the building shouted questions as we stepped out. One headline flashed across a reporter's tablet. Betrayed wife becomes CEO of ex-husband's empire. The words glowed like fire. Cameras turned. The world wanted my story next. The media storm hit fast. My face was everywhere, morning shows, business blogs, even gossip channels. They called it the ultimate power move. Hosts replayed clips of me walking out of the boardroom while he shouted behind me. Someone even turned his old quote, "She's replaceable," into a meme that spread like wildfire. Reporters waited outside my home, asking how it felt to take over the company he once bragged about. My mentor watched the coverage with me and smirked. "They called you replaceable," she said. "Now you're irreplaceable." The line felt like a crown placed on my head. He tried calling me several times, but I let the phone buzz. I owed him nothing, not answers, not comfort, not space. When I stepped onto a TV set for my first live interview, the producer whispered, "Your story is changing people's lives." Before the cameras rolled, my mentor leaned in and said, "Brace yourself. He's about to fight back." Please hit subscribe and like this video as you relax and enjoy my story. He filed a lawsuit the next morning. He claimed I stole intellectual property, breached trust, even sabotaged him. His lawyer tried to sound confident on paper, but the judge wasn't impressed. My legal team brought forward every proof of emotional and financial exploitation, messages, bank transfers, my original contracts, even witness statements. The court saw the truth fast. His lies were thin. The judge dismissed his case with a sharp knock of the gavel. My lawyer smiled at me. He underestimated the wrong woman. When he left the courtroom, reporters chased him. His face was red and tight as he pushed past microphones. "She'll pay for this," he yelled. But people laughed. His threats had no teeth left. He had lost the company, the trust of the board, and now the courts. That afternoon, his mistress's firm collapsed, and her panic landed in my inbox. Her apology arrived in a long email filled with fear. She wrote that leaked texts exposed her role in shady deals, secret meetings, and her attempt to influence the merger through him. Investors dropped her firm overnight. She begged me not to release more information. She said she never meant harm. I almost laughed. She had helped him cheat, lie, and plot behind my back, and now she wanted mercy. I closed the laptop. Her downfall wasn't mine to fix. She made her own bed, and now she had to sleep in it. I walked through my new office, sunlight warm on the floor, and felt the shift inside me. Power didn't feel loud. It felt calm, like standing on solid ground after years of shaking floors. A major news network called, asking for a full interview on my rise and his fall. In the studio, the lights glowed bright. The host smiled and asked gentle questions at first about leadership, growth, and rebuilding. Then she leaned forward. "What inspired your success?" I looked straight into the camera and smiled softly. "One careless word," I said. The room fell silent. The host blinked. The line spread across the internet within minutes. Viewers replayed it. Commenters cheered. The story touched something deep in them, the idea that a single insult could become fuel for a fire strong enough to change a life. After the show, the producer rushed to me. "Ratings exploded," she said breathlessly. "Your episode broke records." I stepped into the hallway, my heels tapping steady beats on the floor. I felt like the whole world was listening. My driver texted that we had arrived at the mansion, now legally mine. I unlocked the front door of the mansion we once shared. The air felt different. Quiet. Mine. I walked through each room, touching tables, walls, memories. I opened windows to let out the scent of his cologne that still clung to the curtains. I took down the photos he liked, the art he chose, the awards he bragged about. Then I entered the bedroom, the place where he had called me replaceable. The sheets looked neat, but I saw the ghost of that moment. I pulled the bedspread off, dragged the mattress out with shaking hands, and pushed it onto the driveway. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I simply let it go. Trash trucks would take it in the morning. I turned and looked at the empty space. It felt like fresh air. That night, he showed up at my door, eyes red, ready to beg. He stood on my porch with his hair messy and eyes red. The night air felt tight between us. "Please," he said, voice cracking. "You were never replaceable." I was wrong. His hands shook as he reached for me. I stepped back. For years, I had dreamed of him saying those words, but now they sounded weak and empty. "I lost everything," he said. "You were the glue." I didn't see it. I looked at him and felt no pain, only clarity. No, I said softly. You were right that night. Someone here was replaceable. His face lifted with hope. So, we can fix this? I shook my head. Yes, I said. You were the replaceable one. His mouth fell open. He tried to argue, but the door closed between us before he could speak another word. The next morning, the divorce papers waited on my desk, needing only my signature. The divorce hearing was quick. He sat across from me with hollow eyes, clutching a folder like it could save him. My lawyer placed the papers in front of me. I signed each page slowly, steady, deliberate. With every stroke of the pen, I felt threads between us snap cleanly. He tried one last time. We built a life, he whispered. Doesn't that matter? I didn't look up. It mattered until you made me disappear inside it. When the final paper slid away, the judge stamped it. Final. He blinked as if someone had punched him. My signature was the last tie he had to the wealth, status, and empire he thought he owned. I stood, gathered my bag, and left him staring at the table like it held the map of a lost world. The next week, my company launched its first major project, one he never saw coming. We launched empowerment ventures with bright banners and clear goals, support women founders, fund small ideas, and teach the skills many never had the chance to learn. The project spread fast. Applications poured in. Headlines praised our mission. Investors who once ignored me now asked for meetings. My mentor hugged me after the ribbon cutting. This, she said, is a real legacy. I looked at the smiling faces of young women who felt seen and supported for the first time. It felt bigger than revenge. It felt like healing. Within weeks, our valuation surpassed his old firm's numbers. People whispered that my leadership was sharp and steady, built on experience he never respected. I checked our growth charts and smiled. My success was no longer a reaction to pain. It was a choice. Then came award night, the same award he once bragged about winning. The ballroom lights were warm and golden as I walked across the stage for Entrepreneur of the Year. The crowd rose. Cameras flashed. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who cried quietly in dark rooms while he slept, thinking she was lucky he chose her. The announcer shook my hand and said into the microphone, "Sometimes being underestimated is the ultimate advantage." People laughed and clapped. I smiled, feeling something lift inside me like a new breath. After the ceremony, reporters rushed toward me. I answered with calm confidence, each word steady and clear. Behind all the noise, I felt a gentle peace rising, something stronger than anger. I had rewritten my story. I had rebuilt my world. And now the world saw me. During a private interview, the journalist played a clip of him calling women replaceable assets. The clip played on a small screen, the one where he sat in a fancy chair, smirking, saying women were replaceable assets in business and in life. The room went quiet. I watched my past like it was a tiny faded picture. When the video stopped, the journalist raised an eyebrow. Any thoughts? I felt a soft laugh leave me, light and free. Funny, I said, how fast assets can liquidate. The crew burst into chuckles. The journalist smiled wide. The moment went viral before I even stepped backstage. People shared the clip, cheering for the calm confidence I finally owned. I walked out of the studio with my head high and my heart steady. Every step felt like closing another door he once tried to keep me behind. That evening, I got a message. His investors were suing him for breach of contract. News broke fast. His investors filed lawsuits for breach of contract, misuse of funds, and failure to deliver on promises he bragged about for years. Reporters showed photos of him rushing out of offices with his jacket half on, hair messy, eyes tired. A few investors who once ignored me now asked for meetings, not with him but with my team. His old assistant sent me a message. I can't work under someone who lies. Do you have openings? I smiled and replied yes. The lawsuits stacked higher each day. His homes went into foreclosure. His shares lost value. Even his old partners stepped away. Watching it happen didn't fill me with joy. It filled me with truth. Actions have echoes. He built his life on arrogance, and now everything around him shook until it cracked. A week later, my new assistant said softly, "He asked for a meeting with you." I didn't take the meeting. Instead, I focused on our newest project, a charity fund for women founders. We named it Project Replaceable. The name alone made people talk. They loved the twist, the strength, the message hidden inside it. We raised money fast. Companies offered partnerships. Schools asked for workshops. It felt like turning pain into something that helped others stand taller. During our launch event, I spoke about the need for support, choice, and courage. I didn't mention him. Not his name, not his actions. This moment wasn't about him. It was about every woman who ever felt small in a room she helped build. When the crowd cheered, I felt something inside me root deeper. I was finally growing from the soil I once cried in. Later that week, I saw him again, by accident. It happened at a small cafe near my office. He sat alone at a corner table, wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit. His hair had lost its shine. His shoulders looked slumped, like gravity finally noticed him. When he saw me, he froze. Then he whispered, "You won." I stepped closer, calm as still water. "No," I said softly. "I just evolved." He looked down, hands shaking around his cup. For the first time, I didn't feel hate or anger. I felt distance. A clean, clear distance between who I was and who I had become. He once tried to shrink me. Now he could not reach me, even while sitting 3 feet away. I turned to leave, and he didn't follow. He just stayed there, small in a world he once ruled. Back in my office, my mentor stood waiting with a question. She stood by the window, arms crossed, eyes warm. "So," she asked, "how does it feel to replace a man with destiny?" I looked out at the tall buildings, the bright sky, the city humming like a promise. I thought about the life I once lived, quiet, tense, dim. Then I thought about the life I now had, loud with purpose, bright with choice. "It feels," I said slowly, "like I finally chose myself." She smiled and nodded. "You didn't just rise," she said. "You rebuilt." I walked to my new corner desk, touched the wood, breathed in the view. My past didn't sting anymore. It felt like old dust. I had stepped into a larger world, one I shaped with my own hands. That night, I wrote something on a small card and placed it in my drawer. The card was simple, pressed with soft gold ink. I wrote, "They said I was replaceable, but I became the standard no one can replicate." I read the words twice, then slid the card into the drawer beside my new business cards. The office lights glowed warm. Outside, the city sparkled like a crown. I felt steady, whole, and free. He had lost everything because he forgot a simple truth: some women don't break when pushed. They rise. They rebuild. They lead. I locked the drawer gently, as if sealing the final page of a story. Then I walked out of my office, my head high, ready for whatever came next. My past was behind me. My empire was ahead, and I was no longer anyone's replaceable anything. He lost everything because he forgot. Some women build empires from the ashes of arrogance. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more great true stories.